Your Excellency, Secretary General, great to see you again in your wonderful country, South Korea, for the PATA 2018 Annual Summit. 우리의 한국에 초대해 주셔서 감사합니다.
Thank you.
I hope I did that correctly.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you once again for making time for us today. Well, you ended your speech on a very optimistic note, as I'm sure you'll all agree. We are all here during a year of great accomplishment for South Korea, and in fact North Korea, the historic outcome of the inter-Korean meetings just a few weeks ago. Now tell us, what were your thoughts on that? Because obviously it will lead to a peaceful Korea, and not least for the tourism industry. But what were your thoughts? What went through your mind when you saw President Moon Jae-in shaking hands with Kim Jong-un?
I was one of millions, even tens of millions of people around the world, not to mention Korean people. I was overly impressed and moved and encouraged to see what had happened in Panmunjom, demilitarized zone. For the first time, North Korean leader crossed this demarcation line and came to southern part. That was the first time. Two previous former presidents of Korea went to Pyongyang. But in any way, that has drawn much more encouragement and positive impact to the hearts and minds of South Koreans. Then it has gone to, I think, billions of people around the world. I sincerely hope that this U.S.-North Korean summit will make a good progress. But then maybe, I think it's just a beginning, just a beginning. We should not be overly excited, as we have been frustrated so many times during the last 7 decades. And particularly when it comes to me, when considering that I was one of the negotiators from the very beginning of this nuclear issue in early 1990s, then we have seen many such ups and downs, and mostly frustrations because of North Koreans abrogating all their promises. What happened just 2 days ago when North Korea had again suddenly cancelled is already scheduled meeting of high-level talks just to discuss how to implement what had been agreed just 20 days ago in Panmunjom. That was a source of deep concern, but we should not overly disappointed and frustrated by this. I suspect what North Koreans did this time is sort of a tactical move, just before the U.S.-North Korean summit. I am much more hopeful than any time in the past that this time may be much better. But it may be a beginning of a very difficult process of complete, verifiable, irreversible process of nuclear weapons.
All right, it sounds like you are urging caution there, which is of course very smart. And as you say, the North Koreans backtracked on those talks with the South Koreans just this week. They are now threatening to pull out of those crucial June the 12th talks with the Americans and President Trump in my city, Singapore, I should add. And you've expressed skepticism as well in the past as to whether the North Koreans will ever be abiding by their pledge to denuclearize. So we know there's been 4 other occasions going back to the 1990s where they have pulled out of their promises to denuclearize. So are you optimistic that this time round, under Kim Jong-un, that this truly will happen?
Of course, it's only natural that you need to be skeptical. There is a famous, a word by President Reagan, trust but verify. But this time, as I told you, I am much more optimistic than any time before, particularly during the last 25 years when North Korean nuclear issue emerged. And now, after his grandfather, father, now he's a third generation. A lot of changes have taken place in this world, not to mention on the Korean Peninsula. And I sincerely hope that Kim Jong-un had made sort of some strategic decision for the better of North Koreans, for the better of Korean peace and prosperity of whole Korean people, both the South and North, which will have very significant implications for global peace and security.
Well, we know it's not just Kim Jong-un. We're also dealing with an American president no one has really experienced before, Donald Trump. So what do you think they will say to each other when they meet on June the 12th?
I think so. I think a meeting will take place. And let us see how this very, two leaders with totally different style, but they have some commonalities, because first of all, they are sometimes unpredictable, both. Then at the same time, if they make some strategic decision, they can make even a big deal. That's why people are excited and people are hopeful. So it's a high time particularly for North Korea, high time to make a strategic decision. Then I urge, as a former Secretary General of the United Nations, even though I have never been able to meet him, but my scheduled meeting with him had been abruptly cancelled just a few days before. This is what we have experienced so many times, but this time let us hope for the better. Yeah.
So unpredictability can be a good thing as well as a bad thing. Interesting. Now, let's move on to your time as Secretary General of the United Nations. You talked about it in your speech, some of your great achievements. What were the ones you were most proud of?
As I briefly mentioned, even though it was not only me alone, but with the support and working together of some millions of people around the world, we were able to agree on Paris Agreement on climate change. It has taken longer than 23 years in negotiation. But I have been speaking loud and clear that negotiation had been moving at snail's speed. So nobody paid attention. They were insisting on their own national priorities and national interests, but I've been urging them, it's not a national issue, it's not an individual issue, it's a matter, it's an issue which matters whole human being and including our planet Earth. So let us have some global vision, broader vision. Fortunately, in December 2015, people have agreed. And again, if you look at the very strange and unacceptable decision-making process, decision-making system, that just one single country can kill whole this decision. There were 195 countries who signed this. Just one norm would kill 194. So it's much stronger than Security Council veto. It's an absolute veto power. But fortunately this time, with everybody focusing on this, including Pope Francis, he lent his strong moral support, and we are happy. Then Sustainable Development Goals, SDG, this is the most ambitious and the most far-reaching vision the United Nations has ever presented to the people of the world. The philosophical view is that it's not only human being, our nature, our planet Earth, only one planet Earth have to live together harmoniously. I have been, metaphorically, I've been saying that we cannot negotiate with the nature. Nature goes its own way. They do not wait for human being. We must not abuse the privilege that God has given us, the Creator has given us. Why you just try to go against the nature? This is the basic philosophical ideas of climate change as well as SDG. Then I think gender empowerment, I've been really trying my best to make sure that women are given equal opportunities, if not more, than men. Considering the global population, there are more women in this world. Then we should give more opportunities, if not more, then at least equal. Now, this kind of a trend is getting much, much more strength and voice. And I'm also proud that I have established a UN Women for the first time in the UN history, that this is quite super agency dealing for the rights and privileges and human dignity of women.
So you talk about climate change, the SDG, gender empowerment, these are your great achievements. So what would you say were some of your great disappointments?
Disappointment, even today, my disappointment is that the world leaders do not act like leaders. Thank you. That means you agree to my point. Many presidents, prime ministers, ministers come to the United Nations. And we are also international delegates here. When they meet in international conferences like this, small or big, they always talk big, loud, as if they are the delegates of the world. Particularly political leaders, when they come to the United Nations, they say, I will do this for humanity, this is the policy for humanity, for the world. When they fly out of JFK airport, they suddenly become national leaders. It's very hard at this time to find global leaders, not national leaders. Of course, they are elected by the national people, votes. Votes may be important. When they elect them as presidents or prime ministers, that means that they should work for their own people, but in a broader sense, they have to act as global leaders. Now, what is most lacking, missing, is a global citizenship. Global citizenship. This is what I'm again urging. We see a lot of people, like, I've been saying that with all this increasing isolationism, nationalism, and also rejecting people who need support and protection, I've been urging world leaders, please do not erect walls, build bridges. This is exactly the same as they build the bridges and connect the people.
Well, we know one particular president who's erecting a lot of walls, but we shan't mention him here. Now, as a final question, we are at PATA, of course. Tourism is something we are all concerned about here. So how do you see tourism as an industry? Can it be a force for good, a force for change, particularly in regards to your somewhat belligerent neighbor to the north? If North Korea were to fully open up, do you feel that tourism can be a force for good?
If there had been opportunities for people around the world to travel freely to North Korea, I think North Korea must have changed a long time ago. Simply they have been closing their borders, and just a few people have been able to visit North Korea. There is a genuine power of tourism. It's not just for sightseeing, just not appreciating beautiful landscape. It's the people and appreciating the culture, history, and how people act. By becoming friends together, you can talk much broader issues, not only the politics. Tourism, you are not focusing on politics, but by engaging people, appreciating more of their own history, culture, societies, then you can be part of global citizens. Therefore, just imagine one day, this demarcation line is gone, and people not only from South Korea travel freely to North, and North Koreans travel freely south and around the world, and particularly many people around the world visit North Korea. You can see much faster way of changing societies, change the people. There is always a genuine power. That's why I have been working with many people around the sports community. I'm now just the chairman of Ethics Commission of International Olympic Committee. It's not about only ethics, accountability. It's spirit and sports, which sports can bring. Sports, tourism, they both have a genuine power and dynamics which can move people change. So on a positive changes, let's hope for the best. How this PATA conference is just one of the many conferences, but it's important that you are engaging. You are the people who engage among people.
As one final question, what is your dearest wish for Korea?
As a Korean, it's only natural that we see reunification of our divided land. This is an most ardent aspiration for all the Korean people, regardless of ideologies you may have. Ideology is temporary. You can change this, and let us hope once we have more and better opportunities, I'm sure that there will be a much faster pace of reconciliation. We first reconcile. We are first to try to understand better and more, and reduce the tension significantly so that people can feel, first of all, sense of safety and security. This is exactly what we expect from President Moon and Chairman Kim Jong-un's summit meeting in Panmunjom last month. This is what exactly we expect from summit meeting between United States and North Korea. I don't think it will happen overnight. However successful the summit meetings may be, there are many following processes. I may represent the sentiment and wishes of the whole the Korean people that we want reunification, however difficult it may be. Yeah.
On that note, Your Excellency, Ban Ki-moon, it's been a great pleasure speaking to you. Unfortunately, we have run out of time. I hope the audience enjoyed that as well. Please, a big round of applause to our very honored speaker. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much
today.
Thank you.